Amora's hands trembled as she stared at her phone screen, her eyes wide with disbelief. The numbers didn't make sense. They couldn't be real. Her bank account balance glowed red with a negative sign that made her stomach twist into knots, minus 847,000 naira. Nearly 2 years of her salary, gone. Vanished like smoke in the harmattan wind. No, 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 she whispered, her voice cracking. She refreshed the banking app once, twice, 3 times. The number stayed the same, mocking her with its terrible truth. Her daughter Zara sat on the velvet couch just 10 feet away, surrounded by shopping bags from every expensive store in Lagos: Gucci, Prada, Louis Vuitton, Chanel. The bags piled up like colorful mountains around the 15-year-old girl, who scrolled through her phone without a care in the world, probably posting pictures of her latest haul to her thousands of followers. Amara felt the room spinning. How had it come to this? When had everything spiraled so completely out of control? But to understand how Amara ended up staring at financial ruin, we need to go back 6 months earlier, to the day when everything began. It was a bright Tuesday morning in March when Amara received the promotion she had dreamed about for 5 years. She was now the regional marketing director at one of Nigeria's biggest telecommunications companies, and her salary had jumped from 400,000 naira per month to 750,000 naira. She felt like she was walking on clouds as she drove home through the busy streets of Lagos, honking her horn and singing along to the radio. Amara had worked so hard to get here. She remembered the days when she was a single mother, struggling to make ends meet after Zara's father left them when Zara was just 2 years old. She remembered eating gari and groundnuts for dinner so that Zara could have rice and chicken. She remembered walking to work in the rain because she couldn't afford taxi fare. Those dark days were finally behind her. When she arrived home at the apartment in the nice part of Lekki, Zara was doing her homework at the dining table. Well, she was supposed to be doing homework, but Amara could see her daughter was actually watching videos on her phone. Zara. My beautiful daughter. Guess what? Amara announced, dropping her handbag on the counter with dramatic flair. Zara looked up, one eyebrow raised. What, Mom? I got the promotion. Your mother is now regional marketing director. Amara did a little dance, spinning around the living room. Zara's face broke into a genuine smile, something Amara hadn't seen much lately. Her teenage daughter had been so moody and distant these past few months. Really? Mom, that's amazing. This means things are going to be different for us now, Amara said, pulling Zara into a tight hug. We can finally have nice things. You can have nice things. All those times I had to say no, all those times I couldn't buy you what your friends had, those days are over. Zara hugged her mother back, and Amara felt tears prick her eyes. She had waited so long to be able to give her daughter everything she deserved. That weekend, Amara took Zara shopping at the Palms Mall in Lekki. They walked through the gleaming corridors, past stores that Amara had only window shopped at before. This time, they walked right in. Pick anything you want, Amara told Zara, feeling like a queen who could grant wishes. Zara's eyes lit up like Christmas lights. She headed straight for a designer store that sold handbags. There, sitting on a white pedestal under a spotlight, was a beautiful cream-colored bag with gold clasps. Mom, look at this one, Zara breathed, touching it gently like it was made of glass. The sales clerk, a thin woman named Folake with perfect makeup, glided over. Oh, the young lady has excellent taste. This is from our new collection. It's 145,000 naira. Amara's heart skipped. That was almost half her old monthly salary. But when she looked at Zara's hopeful face, she remembered all the times she'd had to disappoint her daughter. Not anymore. We'll take it, Amara said, pulling out her credit card. The joy on Zara's face made every naira worth it. Her daughter hugged the bag to her chest like it was a precious baby, and for the rest of the day, she didn't stop smiling. That night, Zara posted pictures with her new bag, and Amara watched as the likes and comments poured in from Zara's friends and classmates. "Goals," wrote one friend named Chioma. "Your mom is the best," commented another. Amara felt proud. She was finally the mother who could say yes instead of no. The next week, Zara came home from school with a sad face. Amara was in the kitchen preparing jollof rice for dinner. "What's wrong, my love?" Amara asked, concerned. "Nothing," Zara mumbled, but Amara could tell something was bothering her daughter. "Tell me. You know you can tell me anything." Zara sighed. "It's just. Ngozi got a new bag today. A Prada one. And everyone was crowding around her at lunch, taking pictures and everything. My bag suddenly felt old." Amara stopped stirring the rice. "Old? But we just bought it last week." "I know, but..." Zara looked down at her feet. "Everyone moves so fast now, Mom. If you're not keeping up, people forget about you." Something twisted in Amara's chest. She remembered being young, remembered how cruel teenagers could be, how important it felt to fit in. She didn't want Zara to feel left out or less than her friends. "Come on," Amara said, turning off the stove. "Let's go shopping. Now." "But it's Tuesday evening. The mall is open until 9. Let's go get you that Prada bag." That night, they came home with a black Prada bag that cost 180,000 naira. Zara was ecstatic. She immediately took pictures and posted them online. Within an hour, she had over 300 likes. "Thanks, Mom. You're literally the best mother in the world," Zara said, kissing Amara on the cheek before bouncing off to her room. Amara smiled, but somewhere deep in her mind, a small voice whispered a warning. She pushed it away. She could afford this now. She was making good money. What was the point of working so hard if she couldn't spoil her only child? But then the next week came, and Zara mentioned that her friend Ada had gotten a new designer bag. And the week after that, it was someone else. Each time, Zara would come home looking sad, feeling like she was falling behind in some race Amara didn't fully understand. And each time, Amara would take her daughter shopping. By the third month, it had become a weekly ritual. Every Saturday, like clockwork, they would go to the mall. Amara's credit card would come out, and another expensive bag would go home with them. Sometimes it was a handbag, sometimes a backpack, sometimes a clutch purse. The brands changed: Gucci, Fendi, Balenciaga, Saint Laurent, but the pattern stayed the same. Amara noticed that Zara's room was starting to look like a designer boutique. Bags lined the shelves, hung from hooks on the walls, and filled her closet. Some of them Zara had only used once. Some she'd never used at all. "Maybe we should slow down a bit," Amara suggested one Saturday morning. "You have so many bags already." Zara's face fell. "But Mom, this is what we do. It's our thing. And besides, I need to keep up my image. I'm almost at 50,000 followers now. People expect me to have nice things." Amara felt guilty for even bringing it up. When had she become the kind of mother who disappointed her child again? Besides, she was making enough money. The credit card bills were manageable. Well, mostly manageable. What Amara didn't realize was that while she was paying the minimum balance on her credit cards each month, the interest was piling up like okra frying in hot oil, getting bigger and bigger. She also didn't realize that she'd been dipping into her savings account more and more often to cover the shopping trips and the growing credit card payments. She didn't check her accounts carefully. She was too busy working long hours at her demanding new job, too tired at night to sit down and really look at her finances. As long as there was money coming in and the cards weren't declining, everything seemed fine. But everything was not fine. Zara's social media following kept growing. She was now a teenage influencer in Lagos, known for her designer bag collection. Other kids at her exclusive private school looked up to her. Some were jealous. Zara loved the attention, and Amara loved seeing her daughter happy and confident. What Amara didn't see was how Zara was changing. Her daughter had become obsessed with appearances, with status, with having more and better things than her friends. The sweet girl who used to help cook dinner and do her homework without being asked had been replaced by someone who spent hours taking selfies and comparing herself to others online. One Thursday evening, Amara came home from work exhausted. She'd had 3 meetings that day and a presentation that had gone badly. All she wanted was to eat leftover egusi soup and go to bed early. But Zara was waiting for her at the door, practically vibrating with excitement. Mom. You won't believe what happened today. Amara set down her bags and tried to smile. What happened, sweetie? A brand reached out to me. An actual fashion brand wants to send me free bags if I post about them. I'm going to be a real influencer. But Zara's excitement dimmed slightly. They want to see that I have a certain level of style first. They are checking my page tomorrow. I need one more really good bag to post tonight. Can we please go shopping? Amara felt so tired her bones ached. Zara, it's Thursday. I just got home. Can't we go on Saturday like usual? Tears filled Zara's eyes. But they are looking at my page tomorrow. This is my big chance, Mom. Please. If you love me, you'll do this for me. Those words hit Amara like a thunderbolt. If you love me. When had her daughter started using love as a bargaining chip? But Amara was tired, and it was easier to say yes than to deal with a teenage tantrum. Fine. Let's go. But we have to be quick. They went to the mall, and Zara picked out a stunning burgundy Bottega Veneta bag that cost 310,000 naira. Amara's hand hesitated over her credit card. That was almost half her monthly salary. But Zara was looking at her with such hope, such trust, that she couldn't back down now. She handed over the card. It was approved. They went home. That night, Zara posted her pictures with the new bag. By morning, she had gained 2,000 new followers, and the brand had officially agreed to work with her. Zara was floating with joy. Amara felt happy for her daughter but also somehow empty, like she crossed a line she couldn't uncross. The weekly shopping trips continued. Then they became twice-weekly trips. Zara always had a reason, a party, a school event, a collaboration with a brand, a friend's gathering. And Amara, desperate to keep her daughter happy and to make up for all those years of poverty, kept saying yes. She stopped looking at her bank statements when they came in the mail. She stopped checking her account balances online. Ignorance felt safer than knowledge. As long as her credit cards weren't declining, everything must be okay, right? But then came the Saturday that changed everything. It was early September, exactly 6 months after Amara's promotion. Zara wanted to go shopping again. Her friend Kemi was having a sweet 16 party, and Zara needed a new bag to match her outfit. They went to the mall, found the perfect bag, and headed to the checkout counter. Amara pulled out her first credit card and handed it to the cashier, a young man named Ton who always helped them. He swiped it. The machine beeped. Declined, Ton said quietly. Amara's cheeks burned with embarrassment. Oh, that's strange. Try this one. She handed him her second card. Swipe. Beep. Also declined. Her hands were starting to shake. She had 4 credit cards in her wallet. She tried the third one. Declined. The fourth one. Declined. Zara was staring at her, confused and starting to look embarrassed too. Other shoppers were waiting in line behind them, watching the scene unfold. I don't understand, Amara stammered. Let me check my bank account. I'll do a direct transfer. She pulled out her phone and opened her banking app, something she hadn't done in nearly 3 months. When the page loaded, the number that appeared on the screen made her blood run cold. Her main account, which should have had at least 200,000 naira in it, showed a balance of 3,840 naira. Her savings account, which had once held 2.5 million naira that she'd carefully built up over years, now showed 125,000 naira. With trembling fingers, she clicked on her credit card accounts. The first card showed a balance of 467,000 naira owed. The second showed 523,000 naira. The third showed 401,000 naira. The fourth showed 456,000 naira. In total, she owed 1,847,000 naira on her credit cards, and she only had 128,840 naira to her name. The math was brutal and simple. She was 1,718,160 naira in debt, and when she added up all the minimum payments due this month across all her cards, she owed 298,000 naira immediately, money she absolutely did not have. The phone nearly slipped from Amara's hands. The bright lights of the store seemed too bright. The air felt too thin. She couldn't breathe properly. "Mom." Zara's voice sounded far away. "Mom, what's wrong? You look weird." Amara couldn't speak. She couldn't move. She just stood there, staring at the numbers on her screen, watching her entire life crumble around her like a house made of sand facing the ocean waves. How had this happened? How had she been so blind, so stupid, so reckless? 6 months. It had only taken 6 months to destroy everything she'd worked 20 years to build. And then, as she stood there in frozen horror, her phone buzzed with a new notification. It was from her bank. "Your account has been overdrawn. An overdraft fee of 5,000 naira has been charged. Your new balance is..." Amara barely remembered the walkout of the store that day. She mumbled an apology to Tond, left the bag on the counter, and somehow made her way to the parking lot with Zara following behind, asking questions that sounded like they were coming through water. "Mom, what happened? Why didn't the cards work? Mom, are you okay? Mom, say something." When they got to the car, Amara sat in the driver's seat but couldn't turn on the engine. Her hands were shaking too badly. She gripped the steering wheel and tried to breathe, tried to think, tried to figure out how she was going to fix this disaster. "Mom, you're scaring me," Zara said from the passenger seat, her voice small and worried in a way it hadn't been in months. Amara finally turned to look at her daughter. Really look at her. Zara was wearing a 85,000 naira designer dress, 120,000 naira shoes, and carrying a 200,000 naira bag. On her wrist was a bracelet that had cost 65,000 naira. Her daughter was wearing almost 500,000 naira worth of items, and Amara couldn't even afford to buy fuel for the car to get them home. "We need to talk," Amara said, her voice hoarse. "But not here. When we get home." The drive back to their apartment was silent except for the sound of Lagos traffic honking and buzzing around them. Amara's mind was racing, trying to calculate how she'd gotten here, trying to remember every purchase, every swipe of the credit card, every time she'd chosen to ignore the warning signs. When they finally got home, Amara sat Zara down at the dining table. The late afternoon sun streamed through the windows, making everything look deceptively peaceful and normal. "Zara, I need you to listen to me very carefully," Amara began. "We have a serious problem. A very serious problem." Zara's eyes widened. "What kind of problem?" "A money problem. We're in debt. Deep debt." Amara's voice cracked. "I owe almost 2 million naira on credit cards, and I don't have any money left to pay them." The color drained from Zara's face. "What? But you make good money. You got that promotion. How is that even possible?" "The bags, Zara. All those bags. All that shopping we've been doing every week, sometimes twice a week. I was using credit cards and I wasn't paying attention to how much we were spending or how much interest was adding up. I just kept swiping and swiping, thinking everything was fine because I had a good job. But it wasn't fine. I destroyed our finances in 6 months. Zara sat back in her chair, stunned. So, what does this mean? It means everything has to change. Starting right now. No more shopping trips. No more designer bags. We need to figure out how to pay back this money before the bank takes legal action against me. Tears welled up in Zara's eyes, but this time they weren't tears of disappointment about a bag. They were tears of fear. Are we going to be poor again? Like before? Amara felt her own tears coming. I don't know, baby. Maybe. Probably. I need to call the bank on Monday and try to work out a payment plan. I might have to sell some things. We might have to move to a cheaper apartment. What about my school? My friends? I'll do everything I can to keep you in your school, but I can't promise anything right now. Zara was quiet for a long moment, staring at her expensive bag sitting on the table between them. Then she said something that surprised Amara. This is my fault too, isn't it? I kept asking for more and more bags. I made you feel like you had to buy them for me. Amara shook her head. No, sweetie. I'm the adult. I'm the one who should have said no. I should have taught you about money and limits and priorities. Instead, I tried to buy your happiness, and I nearly destroyed both our futures in the process. That night, neither of them could eat dinner. Amara sat at her laptop, finally forcing herself to look at every bank statement, every credit card bill, every transaction from the past 6 months. The numbers were even worse than she thought. When she added up everything, the bags, the clothes, the shoes, the jewelry, the expensive restaurants they'd started going to, the luxury salon visits, they had spent over 2.3 million naira in 6 months. She had earned about 4.5 million naira in that same period, which should have been more than enough. But after rent, school fees, utilities, groceries, car payments, and fuel, most of her salary was already spoken for. The shopping had all been done on credit, with the bills piling up while she made minimum payments that barely covered the interest charges. Amara felt sick. She had been so stupid, so reckless, so blind. She had let her desire to give Zara everything she never had cloud her judgment completely. She had equated love with spending, happiness with possessions, and success with designer labels. On Monday morning, Amara called the bank. She spoke to a customer service representative named Mr. Adebayo who listened to her situation without judgment. Mrs. Amara, you're not the first person to find themselves in this situation, and you won't be the last, he said kindly. The good news is you have a stable job. The bank can work with you on a payment plan. But it won't be easy, and it will take years to pay off this debt. How many years? Amara asked, afraid of the answer. With your income, if you commit to paying 400,000 naira per month, you could be debt-free in about 5 years. That includes the interest that will continue to accumulate. 5 years. Amara felt dizzy. That was half of Zara's remaining childhood. But what choice did she have? What if I can't pay 400,000 per month? Then it would take longer. Every month you only pay the minimum, you're adding more months, sometimes years, to your debt. The interest is like a monster that keeps growing if you don't feed it properly. Amara thanked Mr. Adebayo and hung up. She did the math. Her monthly take-home pay after taxes was about 650,000 naira. If she paid 400,000 toward debt, that left her with 250,000 for everything else. Their rent alone was 180,000 per month. That left 70,000 for food, transportation, utilities, and everything else. It was impossible. They would have to move. That evening, Amara sat Zara down again. We have to leave this apartment. We can't afford to live here anymore. Zara's face crumpled, but she didn't cry. Over the past 2 days, Amara had noticed a change in her daughter. The entitled, demanding teenager seemed to have disappeared, replaced by someone more thoughtful and subdued. "Where will we go?" Zara asked quietly. "I found a place in Suralia. It's much smaller, 2 bedrooms instead of 3. The rent is 90,000 naira per month. It's not as nice, and the neighborhood isn't as fancy, but it's clean and safe." "Okay," Zara said simply. "Okay." Just like that. Zara looked down at her hands. "Mom, I've been thinking a lot since Saturday. I looked at all my bags yesterday. I have 37 designer bags in my room. 37. Some of them I never even used. I can't even remember why I wanted some of them. And for those bags, you destroyed your savings and went into debt that would take 5 years to pay off." She looked up at her mother with tears in her eyes. "I feel so ashamed. I was so caught up in getting likes and followers and being popular that I didn't stop to think about what it was costing you. Not just money, but stress and worry and sleepless nights. I'm so sorry, Mom." Amara pulled her daughter into a tight hug. They both cried, for the mistakes made, for the hard road ahead, for the lessons learned too late and too expensively. Over the next 3 weeks, they made difficult changes. Amara went through their apartment with a notepad, listing everything they could sell. Zara shocked her by offering to sell most of her designer bags. "But those bags are everything to you," Amara protested. "No, they are not. They were never everything. They were just things. You're everything, Mom. Our family is everything. And if selling these bags can help fix the problem I helped create, then that's what we should do." They created accounts on resale websites. Zara took beautiful pictures of each bag, wrote honest descriptions, and posted them online. To their surprise, the bags sold quickly. Rich people in Lagos were always looking for designer items, especially ones in good condition that were slightly cheaper than buying them new. Over 4 weeks, they sold 28 bags. Some sold for almost what Amara had paid, some for less, but altogether they made 3.2 million naira. It was enough to pay off 2 of the credit cards completely and make a big payment on the 3rd. Zara kept 9 bags, her absolute favorites that she actually used regularly. "These ones I keep to remember," she told her mother. "To remember what happens when you care more about things than about what really matters." They moved to the smaller apartment in Suralia on a Saturday morning. Their new place was indeed much smaller. Zara's new room could barely fit her bed and wardrobe. The living room was cramped. The kitchen was tiny. But it was clean, and the landlady, a kind woman named Mama Biodon, welcomed them warmly. "Every place is a home if you fill it with love," Mama Biodon told them as she handed over the keys. Amara's co-workers noticed the change. Her boss, Mr. Chekudi, called her into his office one afternoon. "Amara, is everything alright? You seem stressed lately." Amara hesitated, then decided honesty was better than making excuses. She told him a shortened version of what had happened, how she'd gotten into debt trying to give her daughter everything. Mr. Chekudi listened carefully, then nodded. "I appreciate you being honest with me. Financial problems can affect work performance, so I'm glad you told me. Have you thought about taking on extra projects? We have some consulting work that pays additional fees. It would mean more hours, but more money too." Amara felt hope flutter in her chest. "Yes, I'd be very interested in that." "Good. I'll send you the details." "And Amara, you're not the first person to make financial mistakes. What matters is that you're facing them head-on and fixing them. That takes courage." The extra projects added about 150,000 naira per month to Amara's income. Combined with the money from selling the bags, they were making real progress on the debt. But life in Suralia was different from life in Lekki. Their new neighbors were working-class people, traders, teachers, bus drivers, small shop owners. At first, Zara struggled with the adjustment. Her friends from school would post pictures from fancy restaurants and shopping malls, and Zara would be home in their small apartment, helping her mother prepare beans and plantain for dinner. One afternoon, Zara came home from school looking troubled. Amara was working on her laptop at the dining table. "Mom, can I talk to you about something?" "Of course, sweetie." "What's wrong?" "Some of my friends have been asking questions. They noticed I'm not posting shopping pictures anymore. They noticed I sold most of my bags. Today, Chioma asked me straight out if we were broke." Amara felt protective anger rise in her chest. "What did you tell her?" "I told her the truth. I said we had been spending too much money and now we were being more responsible." She laughed and called me the fallen princess. Then she showed everyone a meme she made about me with the caption, "From designer bags to dead bags." Tears were streaming down Zara's face. Everyone laughed, Mom. All my friends. The same people who used to like all my pictures and call me their style inspiration. They laughed at me. Amara pulled her daughter close. "I'm so sorry, baby. People can be cruel, especially when they see someone fall from a high place. But listen to me, those girls who laughed. They're not your real friends. Real friends don't mock you when you're going through hard times. But I don't have any friends now. I'm alone at school." "That's not true. You just haven't noticed the real friends yet. The ones who aren't impressed by bags and brands. The ones who care about who you are, not what you own." Over the next few weeks, something interesting happened. Zara started eating lunch with a different group of girls, quieter students who weren't part of the popular crowd. Their names were Patience, Adis, and Yotund. They didn't care about designer bags or social media followers. They cared about school grades, about their dreams for the future, about books and music and ideas. One evening, Zara came home with a smile that Amara hadn't seen in months, not the posed, fake smile from her influencer photos, but a real, genuine smile that reached her eyes. "I had the best day, Mom. Patience is teaching me how to code. She's making her own website, and it's so cool. And Adis writes poetry, really beautiful poetry about Lagos and life and everything. And Yuton wants to be a doctor. They're all so smart and interesting." "That's wonderful, sweetie. And you know what? We ate lunch together in the cafeteria, and Chioma walked past with her group. She made another comment about my cheap bag, which is actually still a designer bag, but whatever. And Patience just looked at her and said, at least Zara knows how to think about more than just what she's carrying. What do you know except how to spend your parents' money?" "Mom, I've never heard anyone stand up to Chioma like that." Amara laughed. "Sounds like you found some real friends." "I think I did. And Mom, I deleted my influencer Instagram account today." "What?" "But you had almost 60,000 followers." "I know. But it wasn't real. None of it was real. Those people didn't care about me. They cared about free content, about pretty pictures, about living through someone else's expensive lifestyle. I was so busy trying to be someone impressive online that I forgot to be someone real in actual life." Amara felt tears of pride prick her eyes. Her daughter was growing up, learning lessons that many people never learned even as adults. Months passed. The debt slowly decreased. Life was harder. They couldn't eat out at fancy restaurants, couldn't take spontaneous shopping trips, couldn't afford many luxuries. But somehow, they were happier. Amara started cooking more, and Zara learned to cook alongside her. They would spend Saturday mornings in their tiny kitchen, making jollof rice and pepper soup and puff-puff, listening to music and talking about everything and nothing. Zara's grades improved dramatically. Without the pressure of maintaining her social media presence and keeping up with the popular crowd, she had more time and energy for schoolwork. She joined the school's debate club and discovered she loved public speaking. She started volunteering at a local library on weekends, reading to younger children. One evening, about 8 months after the credit card disaster, Zara and Amara were sitting on their small balcony, watching the sunset paint the Lagos sky in shades of orange and pink. "Mom, can I tell you something?" Zara asked. "Always." "I'm glad the cards got declined that day at the mall." Amara looked at her daughter in surprise. "Really? Really? I mean, it was terrible and embarrassing and scary. But if it hadn't happened, we would have just kept going, right? Kept shopping and spending and pretending everything was fine while we were actually drowning in debt. That declined card was like a wake-up alarm. It saved us from making an even bigger mistake." Amara nodded slowly. "You're right. As painful as it was exactly what we needed. And I'm different now. Better, I think. Before, I was so worried about what everyone thought of me, about how many likes I got, about whether I looked rich and successful. Now I actually care about things that matter. Like learning and helping people and being a good friend and daughter. I'm so proud of you, Zara. And I'm sorry I let things get so out of control. I should have been teaching you about money and values from the beginning, not trying to buy your happiness with things. We both made mistakes, Mom. But we are fixing them together." By the 1-year mark after the credit card crisis, they had paid off 3 of the 4 credit cards completely. The 4th card still had a balance of 380,000 naira, but it was manageable. Amara had learned to budget carefully, tracking every naira that came in and went out. She had learned to save again, slowly rebuilding her emergency fund. More importantly, she had learned that her daughter's love and respect couldn't be bought in a store. It had to be earned through time, attention, honesty, and being present in her life. One Sunday afternoon, Zara's friend Patience came over for lunch. As Amara served them rice and stew, she overheard their conversation. "Your mom is so cool," Patience was saying. "My mom never admits when she makes mistakes. She acts like she knows everything and can never be wrong." "My mom is pretty amazing," Zara agreed. "She made a huge mistake with money, but instead of hiding it or making excuses, she faced it head-on and fixed it. She taught me that it's okay to mess up as long as you take responsibility and make things right." Amara felt warmth spread through her chest. This moment of her daughter appreciating her not for what she could buy, but for who she was, this was worth more than all the designer bags in Lagos. Later that week, Amara was at work when she got a call from an unknown number. "Hello, is this Mrs. Amara Okonkwo?" "Yes, speaking. This is Gloria from First Bank. I'm calling about your credit account. We've been reviewing your payment history over the past year, and we're impressed with your commitment to paying down your debt. You've never missed a payment, and you've consistently paid well above the minimum required." "Thank you," Amara said cautiously, wondering where this was going. "We'd like to offer you a debt consolidation option. We can combine your remaining balance into a single loan at a much lower interest rate. This would reduce your monthly payment and help you become debt-free faster. Would you be interested in hearing more details?" Amara felt hope surge through her. "Yes, very much so." After reviewing the numbers, Amara discovered that the consolidation loan would reduce her monthly payment by 100,000 naira and cut almost a year off her repayment timeline. It was exactly the break she needed. That evening, she shared the good news with Zara over dinner. "This means we might be able to afford to move back to a bigger apartment in about 6 months, Amara said. "Nothing as expensive as the Lekki place, but something with a bit more space." Zara looked around their small Suralaya apartment. "You know what, Mom? I actually like it here. Sure, it's small, but Mama Biodon is kind, our neighbors are friendly, and it feels like home. Can we just stay here and use the extra money to save for my university instead? Amara stared at her daughter, amazed. The girl who had once cared only about designer bags and impressing her friends was now thinking about practical things like university savings. When did you get so wise? Amara asked with a smile. I learned from the best teacher, Zara replied. Experience. They both laughed, and the sound filled their small apartment with joy that no amount of money could buy. But just as things seemed to be settling into a comfortable new normal, Zara came home from school one Friday afternoon with an envelope and an excited expression. Mom! You won't believe this. Amara looked up from her laptop. What is it? The school is choosing 3 students to attend a youth leadership conference in Abuja next month. All expenses paid. And I was selected. Me. They chose me. That's wonderful, sweetie. Congratulations. Zara's face fell slightly. But there's one thing. We each need to give a presentation at the conference about the challenge we've overcome and what it taught us. The theme is Lessons from Failure. And I want to talk about what happened with us. About the designer bags and the debt and everything we learned. But I wanted to ask your permission first because it's your story too. Amara felt a flutter of anxiety. Having her financial mistakes broadcast at a national youth conference. That was embarrassing. But then she thought about all the other parents who might be making the same mistakes right now, or the other teenagers who might be obsessed with material things and social media validation. You have my permission, Amara said. If our story can help even one person avoid the mistakes we made, then it's worth the embarrassment. Zara hugged her mother tightly. Thank you, Mom. I promise I'll make you proud. Over the next 3 weeks, Zara worked on her presentation. She showed Amara draft after draft, refining her message, making sure she told the story honestly but also kindly, without blaming either herself or her mother but taking responsibility for their shared mistakes. Finally, the day came for Zara to leave for Abuja. Amara dropped her at the airport, hugging her daughter tight before she walked through the security gate. For 3 days, Amara waited anxiously, wondering how Zara's presentation had gone. Then, on the 3rd evening, she got a video call from her daughter. Mom, you have to see this. Zara's face filled the phone screen, glowing with excitement. What happened? How did it go? It was amazing. When I finished my presentation, I got a standing ovation. A standing ovation, Mom. And afterward, so many kids came up to me. Some of them crying, telling me they recognized themselves in my story. One girl said she's been pressuring her mom to buy her expensive things even though she knows they can't afford it, and my talk made her realize how selfish she was being. Another boy said his dad lost his job, but he's been complaining about not having the newest phone, and now he feels ashamed and wants to apologize. Tears streamed down Amara's face as she listened. But that's not even the best part, Zara continued. A woman from a financial literacy organization approached me. Her name is Mrs. Adebisi, and she wants to work with me to create educational content about teen spending and financial responsibility. She thinks young people need to hear this message from someone their own age, not just from adults. Mom, I could actually make a difference. I could help other kids avoid the mistakes I made. Amara felt her heart swell with pride. Her daughter, the same girl who had once measured her worth in designer labels and Instagram likes, was now passionate about helping others learn financial wisdom. I'm so proud of you, Zara. So incredibly proud. When Zara came home from Abuja, she was bursting with energy and ideas. She and Mrs. Adebisi started a YouTube channel called Money Talks for Teens. Zara created videos about budgeting, about the psychology of wanting expensive things, about the difference between needs and wants, about how social media creates false pressure to spend money you don't have. The channel grew slowly at first, then exploded. Within 3 months, they had over 100,000 subscribers. Zara's authentic storytelling, her willingness to share her own failures and mistakes, resonated with young people across Nigeria and beyond. One evening, about 18 months after the credit card crisis, Amara sat down to review their finances. It was something she now did every week without fail. She opened her banking app and looked at the numbers. Current account, 387,000 naira. Savings account, 1,200,000 naira. Credit card debt, 0 naira. They were debt-free. Completely, totally debt-free. And they had managed to rebuild their savings to over 1 million naira again. Amara sat back in her chair, feeling a weight lift from her shoulders that she hadn't even realized she was still carrying. They had done it. They had climbed out of the hole she had dug through ignorance and desperation to make her daughter happy. "Zara," she called out. "Come here, please." Zara appeared in the doorway of her room, holding a textbook. "What's up, Mom?" Amara turned her laptop screen toward her daughter. "Look." Zara's eyes widened as she read the numbers. "Zero debt. We did it. We are really free. We are really free." They hugged each other, both crying happy tears this time. "We should celebrate," Zara said when they finally pulled apart. "Yes. What do you want to do? We could go out for a nice dinner, or..." "Actually," Zara interrupted with a mischievous smile, "I was thinking we could go shopping." Amara's heart sank. "Zara, I thought you understood." "Wait, hear me out. I was thinking we could go to the market and buy ingredients to cook a big special meal together. Maybe invite Mama Biodon and some of our neighbors. And then maybe we could use some of that money to buy books for the library where I volunteer. The children's section is so small, and the kids would be so excited to have new stories to read." Amara felt tears spring to her eyes again. "That sounds perfect." That Saturday, they did exactly that. They went to the market early in the morning, bargaining with the traders for fresh tomatoes and peppers and fish and meat. They spent the day cooking together in their small kitchen, filling the apartment with delicious smells. They invited Mama Biodon and several neighbors for dinner, and their small living room was packed with laughter and conversation and the warmth of community. After dinner, while Zara was showing their neighbors some of her YouTube videos, Mama Biodon pulled Amara aside. "That daughter of yours is special," the older woman said. "When you first moved here, I could tell she was struggling. She had that look, the look of a girl who measured her worth by what she owned rather than who she was. But look at her now. She shines from the inside." "She's learned some hard lessons," Amara said. "We both have. The best lessons usually come wrapped in hardship," Mama Biodon replied wisely. "My late husband used to say that pressure creates diamonds. Your pressure created something precious, wisdom, humility, and real happiness. Those designer bags you sold. They were just coal. Shiny coal, but coal nonetheless. What you have now is worth so much more." Later that night, after all the guests had gone home and the dishes were washed, Amara and Zara sat together on their small balcony once more, looking up at the Lagos sky. "Mom," Zara said quietly, "do you remember that day at the mall? When your cards got declined? How could I forget? I was so scared that day. I thought my whole world was ending. I thought I would lose everything that mattered, my friends, my status, my identity. But actually, I didn't lose anything that really mattered. I just lost things. Empty things. And in return, I gained so much more." "What did you gain?" "I gained real friends who like me for me. I gained purpose, this mission to help other teens understand money better. I gained respect for hard work and the value of saving. I gained appreciation for simple pleasures, like cooking with you or reading to kids at the library. But most of all..." Zara paused, then looked at her mother with shining eyes. "I gained a better relationship with you. When we were always shopping, it felt like our love language was buying things. Now our love language is spending time together, talking, supporting each other. That's real. That's lasting. That's worth more than all the designer bags in the world. Amara pulled her daughter close, breathing in the moment, grateful for every painful lesson that had brought them to this place of genuine peace and happiness. The next morning, as Amara was getting ready for church, her phone rang. It was her boss, Mr. Chukwudi. Amara, I hope I'm not calling too early. Not at all, sir. Is everything okay? More than okay. I'm calling with good news. The board has been reviewing performance across all departments, and your work over the past year and a half has been exceptional. The extra projects you took on, your dedication, your leadership, all of it has been noticed. We'd like to offer you a promotion to Senior Regional Director. It comes with a significant salary increase. Your new monthly take-home would be 950,000 naira. Amara's hand flew to her mouth. Almost 1 million naira per month. A year and a half ago, that news would have sent her straight to the mall. But today, it filled her with a different feeling, not of things she could buy, but of security she could build, of her daughter's future she could invest in, of the freedom that came from having money rather than owing it. Thank you, sir. I'm honored and grateful. You've earned it, Amara. And I must say, I admire how you handled your financial situation. Many people would have let it destroy them, but you faced it head-on and came out stronger. That's the kind of character we value in leadership. When Amara hung up, Zara was standing in the doorway, having overheard the conversation. You got promoted again. Zara squealed, running to hug her mother. I did. We are going to be more than okay now, sweetie. We are going to thrive. Can I make a suggestion about what we do with the extra money? Amara laughed. Of course. What are you thinking? First, let's increase our savings. Like, a lot. Enough to have a really solid emergency fund so we're never vulnerable like that again. Then, let's set up a proper university fund for me so you don't have to worry about that. And then. Zara paused, thinking, maybe we could use some of it to sponsor financial literacy workshops for teens. Partner with Mrs. Adebizi's organization. There are so many young people who need to hear these lessons before they make expensive mistakes. Amara looked at her daughter, this wise, thoughtful, compassionate young woman, and marveled at how much they had both grown. That sounds like a perfect plan, she said. As they walked to church that morning, the sun rising over Lagos, painting the city in shades of gold and possibility, Amara reflected on the journey they had taken. From prosperity to debt to recovery. From ignorance to wisdom. From buying things to building character. From a relationship based on spending to a bond forged through struggle and growth. The designer bags that had once seemed so important were gone, sold off or packed away. But what remained was so much more valuable: love, wisdom, resilience, purpose, and the unshakable knowledge that true wealth isn't measured in what you own, but in who you are and who you're becoming. And as Zara walked beside her, talking excitedly about her plans for the teen financial literacy program, Amara realized that this moment right here, this life they had rebuilt from the ruins of their mistakes, this was the real treasure. No designer bag could ever be worth more than this.